Okay, so in the past, I've been kind of vocal against not so much my displeasure of the Nintendo Switch, but just like my non-interest. I mean, I appreciate the console for what it is, and I think if you're into Nintendo Switch, power to you. I don't think it's a terrible console, it's just not my cup of tea. I'm not terribly into portable consoles, and everything that I do kind of want to play on the Switch is stuff that I can already play better at better frame rates with higher graphics on one of my other systems. So I was never in the market for a Switch, and I was never actively searching for a Switch. But then I came across a Nintendo Switch for such a discount. It was basically theft on my end. I practically stole this Nintendo Switch. Now, I didn't actually steal it, but basically this thing at time of this recording is $199 at your local Walmart or Target. Literally the day I got this, I went into a Walmart afterwards and I managed to just happened by the video game section, and there was one for $199. Now you're probably wondering, how much did I get this for? Well, seeing how it was Black Friday and I was in a small little mom and pop gaming store, I got this thing for $80. So, literally more than half off. And I was just standing there going, do I need this? Not particularly. Do I want it? Not really, but is the price too good to pass up? Yeah. So I traded a couple of games, dropped that price a little bit lower. I probably wound up spending like $40 on this when all was said and done. And so, yeah, I now have a Nintendo Switch. And the first thing I want to do with it is I want to tear it apart with my bare hands like an animal. Ladies. Looking at this thing, it had this really flimsy, body on it to, protect it. This little flimsy rubber protector. And it kind of felt good in the hands, but also it was loose and it was all torn up. And I thought, okay, let's see what we're dealing with under here. I took it off, and this thing has so many scrapes and gashes and tears in it. This thing looks like it survived an abusive relationship, and so this is kind of like a rescue console, as it were. And you look at the back here, one of the vents, the main vent actually that you get most of the intake through, is all damaged and torn up, and it's just like, okay, well, that's not good. The vent up here looks like it has some crud in it, and you're probably thinking, okay, dude, there's a reason why you only have to pay $80 for this. It's a piece of shit. Well, no. The screen's perfectly fine. There's no crack that I can find. There's a little bit of a chip down at the very bottom. It's easy to miss. So, that wasn't a deal breaker for me. And the thumbsticks have no stick drift of any kind. Something that's notorious with these consoles is that stick drift is super easy to have, but I played on it for a couple of hours. It's no stick drift of any kind that I could find. So basically, underneath this rough, gruff, war-torn exterior, there's a lovely lady underneath. So I was thinking, you know what? I'm going My Fair Lady the shit out of this console. Which, that's 2 hours of my life I'm never getting back, that watching that movie, My Fair Lady. Ultimately, it's a good thing I did see it, but, man, I could have made that movie, 50 minutes shorter, and you still would have had the same story. Moving on from My Fair Lady, basically I decided that since I have a new Switch, I want to have a nice Switch, something with a nice exterior, not something that looks like it survived Ukraine. So, I got a brand new shell for this console that I'm going to swap out with the original shell. But I'm not ending there. I also have brand new buttons for the Switch because the shell I got, I don't like the color of the white buttons with this shell. So I got new buttons as well, and I also have new thumbstick covers so that you don't have the white thumbsticks with the new color buttons. So essentially, I'm creating a one-of-a-kind Nintendo Switch. Something that no one has seen before. Now granted, you can replicate this, and in all honesty, there's probably like 5 other people around the globe who have done this match of buttons and shell and thumbstick covers. So honestly, it's not like the only one in the world when I'm done. It's probably going to be like one of 5 out of 126 million Switches. So it's still going to be incredibly rare. And the shell I decided to go with was the Atomic Purple Translucent Shell. Now, one, I am not a big fan of purple, but the reason why I went with that is because this Switch that I have is the blue Switch, or the indigo blue Switch. Honestly, to me, this Switch looks purple to me. Now, in the right light, I can see how some people would see that it's blue, but it's like this weird hybrid of purple, blue, whatnot. And the reason why I went with the Atomic Purple shell is because of this bezel right here. The screen has a permanent bezel color to it. And while the replacement shell has a screen protector that will cover that bezel, I'm not really nuts about how that looks, especially on purple. It's a black bezel, but this bezel has a very purplish tinge to it, and for some reason, I was looking at this shell swap on YouTube. No one that I could find has actually done an atomic shell swap on a indigo blue or purple blue Nintendo Switch Lite. I mean, like, I've seen yellow, I've seen turquoise. Turquoise is like the most common Switch Lite I've seen with that atomic purple swap. But I've never seen this color used, and so I'm looking forward to actually swapping this with that shell. Now, I'm a little dubious about removing the screen on this, but that's going to be quite an adventure. Now, before we continue on, there's a couple of things you should know. This is not going to be a how-to video. You will see me dismantle my war-torn, damaged Switch, and you will see me assemble it, but I'm not going to give you a step-by-step. There's plenty of videos out there that give you a step-by-step. I'll actually put down in the description down below the video I used of this really lovely lady who did a step-by-step walkthrough on putting an atomic purple shell swap on her Switch Lite, and she did a pretty comprehensive video. I really enjoyed it, and definitely check that out if you're thinking about doing something like this. Also, I will put the link down in the description of all the parts I got, so that if you are interested in doing this, you know where to get all the parts. And also, I would recommend, if you are thinking about doing this, consider changing the color of your choice, because like the replacement buttons and the shell have multiple color options. So I would recommend to do something unique to you and to not copy me. Change the color. They actually were offering like a red translucent color, which I was really close to going like, yeah, I think I'll do that. And they have like these chrome red buttons, chrome gold, chrome silver, chrome green. I mean, they have so many different kind of variations of buttons and colors that if you're not entirely happy with the one I made, you can, at the very least, create something that's more in line with your tastes and create a unique custom Nintendo Switch Lite. Another thing worth noting is there's a couple of things you do need to get in preparation for a job like this. One is the right tool set, although the buttons and the shell do come with their own screwdrivers, so that is nice. I would recommend also getting a couple additional screws. You should get a spreader, something that can help spread some stuff, especially with the screen, removing the screen later on. You'll want a heat gun, or better yet, a hair dryer. I would go with the hair dryer over the heat gun because the heat gun can melt shit. Hair dryer, definitely a little bit safer option. You definitely need one of those. And then also, I would recommend you get some thermal paste. I have MX4 thermal paste. Some people like MX5 better. There's various different kinds of thermal paste. Get some thermal paste because when doing this swell shop, you are going to compromise the thermal paste that's already on the Switch, and so you'll want to replace that, otherwise your Switch is going to last maybe a week. And then also, another thing you want to get, and this will be explained later on, is this like 3M, like very small cell phone double-sided tape. That'll be explained later on why you want that. And so, yeah, before I get on with the deconstruction of this device, I'm going to do some close-up shots of the original Nintendo Switch Lite so that you can see the before and after of the work that I'm doing. Just remember, you want to take off this, disconnect the power, because I've seen some people like fuck up the battery working on this, and so definitely just disconnect the battery right here. There's definitely some videos online showing you how to properly do that, and then just like that. Now that the heat sink is off, you want to remember to also reapply thermal paste here when you start reassembling it. Thermal paste is really important so this thing doesn't overheat in your hands. There's the headphone jack and the card reader for physical games. And if neat little thing about this is if the headphone jack ever fails, you can always remove that without having to replace the whole thing. So the neat thing about this is they made it very modular to fix, which in the long run I think is going to really bode well for the company. Something you want to be very careful about is right here with these ribbons. You want to be careful not to try and open up here, because you can break that plastic like I just did. Now luckily the locking mechanism is the black piece over here, and that will still work, or at least theoretically it should still work. CR button, setting aside. Real quick, one little pro tip you can do to keep track of all the screws, having them separate. Get yourself one of these like pill containers and have each stage in each one of the days. Like these are like a couple bucks at Walmart, I mean, and it works perfect for sorting out and keeping safe all of these screws. I mean, you know, you can shake them and nothing. Now you won't be able to fit pieces like this in there, but at least the screws you can have secured. And now we are to the screen. I am not looking forward to this. Although, every video I saw, the screen was like silver, and this actually isn't. It's hard plastic. Kind of like that. I feel like that's less chance of it breaking. Watch it prove me wrong. Okay, so this next part, I wasn't able to film myself doing it, but basically, to remove the screen, I got a hairdryer and I just started on one corner and I just kind of focused on it until I was able to push up a little bit on the back side and get that lifted. And I used one of these little sponger tools to kind of start working it. And then as I slowly worked around, I would stop, hit the area with the heat gun on high for a couple of seconds to a minute, and then just slowly worked myself around. And probably I got to about half an hour it took to completely remove this thing. Now, hopefully I didn't destroy the screen. I don't think I did, but we will find out. And I still have most of the adhesive still on around the edge, but to be on the safe side, I have a little bit of this cell phone tape that I'm going to apply on a new case. Okay, so I have the cell phone tape applied on each of the round corners, and it kind of works like a screen protector almost, just it's tape. Okay, peel off like the film on it, and there you go. And now we want to make sure we're doing this right side up. I have to apply it this way. Looks really, really good. I think that complements the purple pretty nicely. Now hopefully the screen wasn't destroyed from the heat. I would think if I was to turn it on right after using the heat gun on it, probably it wouldn't help. But since it's going to have some time to cool off as I'm reassembling it, I think it should be fine. And so that's cool. Now I can just reassemble it. Okay, so I am going to now install these purple blue buttons that I got from the same company. I figured they would be a nice match for this atomic purple design. And so here it is, a special, one-of-a-kind Nintendo Switch with the atomic purple case and the special blue-purple highlighted buttons and green thumbsticks. Now the green thumbsticks, They were leftovers I had for another project, and I didn't feel like paying $7 just to get purple thumbsticks. And in terms of the case, I was expecting it to be a little bit more translucent than it actually is. It's kind of cloudy, which in the end helps prevent it from getting scratches, but I was kind of hoping for a little bit more of a glass look. Even though the back is mostly covered with this metal heat plate, I do like being able to see it, and I do like the translucent look of the atomic purple. Now, I'm not really into purple, but since the bezel, I could get blue or purple, and the see-through atomic purple, it's like, okay, I remember that from my childhood with the Nintendo 64s and the Game Boy Colors, and so, yeah, I'm going to do that classic 1990s see-through colored plastic look. And then the buttons came out really nice. They look like blue in certain light, and then other lights, they look purple. And so they really match the console, and they also fit in quite nicely. Everything about this does look like an officially released Nintendo product, and I do love that. And yes, this does turn on. And so it's not like I broke it. And so, I mean, I do think this came out quite nice. This has brand new life. I did successfully My Fair Lady this piece. In terms of the extreme rate console swap, I will say that the game card door and the micro SD card door, they feel a bit stiff, and I don't know how frequently you can open those. So definitely don't throw away the old doors on the shell you're swapping out if you decide to do this, simply because if those break, you're going to need a replacement. In terms of the overall job, this was a little bit extensive simply because it took me like about 2 days to fully do this job. Now, it was pretty, I don't want to say easy, but it did kind of go off without any hiccups. I would highly recommend, as a little tip or trick, get yourself one of these old people weekly pill canister things that go from like Sunday to Saturday, morning, noon, evening, bedtime, because yeah, it's weird being like 20 getting it, but man, did this thing become a lifesaver when putting in the individual screws with every step. Like the exterior screws, I put in one, then the next set of screws I put in, and I just worked myself backwards, and I didn't have any issue deciphering which screws went to where. But I really enjoyed taking this apart, and man, removing the screen was just a very tense experience. But once I did it, I actually discovered it wasn't that difficult, and now I'm more comfortable than ever doing a screen swap on another Switch, or even potentially a Steam Deck down the road. So overall, I absolutely love how this console looks. This thing is gorgeous. I love how unique this feels, and I'm actually surprised Nintendo did not offer all these different variations of Nintendo Switch Lite shells that Extreme Rate is offering. I mean, Nintendo really could have gone nuts with the different variations of shells, and I'm surprised that they have yet to release an official see-through atomic purple or just see-through shell that a lot of these companies have been offering. Anyway, that has been my journey in creating a one-of-a-kind Nintendo Switch. I look forward to doing more Nintendo Switch content for you guys down the road. And until then, my name's Christopher Connell of 11 Hour Reviews, and that will be all for today.